In this video, we're going to be talking about how to create an effective customer defection analysis. Why is this important? Because of the following problems that we deal with in business today. Most companies today will lose anywhere from 10 to 30% of their customers a year. Every 5 years, a typical US company will lose about 50% of their customers. So why does this happen? Typically, as companies grow and increase in size, they have an increased emphasis on processes and financial returns at the expense of the quality, innovation, and insights that they can receive from their customers that will help them actually grow their business. Owners and company financial managers will typically look at their defection numbers with no customer segmentation beyond their individual spending levels alone. The result is short-term financial analysis based upon profits and revenues alone, the surest way to start killing a company. One of the cornerstones of growing a business is to sell it to the right customers. Therefore, you need to be able to focus your retention numbers on defection analysis with your right customers. So who are they? So the first thing is every company has 3 typical types of customers. In this case, what we do is we break them into 3 different segments: your promoters, your buyers, and your demoters. Your promoters are typically your best clients. These are the ones that if you give to them, they will give back to you in return. You will know who they typically are because if they're easy to sell to, they're easy to own as clients. These are your best customers, and they typically in most companies will range from anywhere from 10 to 25% of your customers. On the opposite spectrum, you have your demoters. Your demoters are typically clients that if you give to them, they will not give in return. They will typically be your biggest complainers and your biggest problems and the biggest waste of your time. And they will constitute typically anywhere from 20 to 30% of your customer base. You will know who your demoters typically are because when you sell to them, they will be hard to sell to and hard to own as clients. And then in the middle, you have your buyers. These are the people who are typically skeptical. They might be able to make money with you, they might be able to be happy with you, but they're skeptical and they don't know. So they rely in many cases on the promoters to provide them with referrals and the comfort and trust levels that they need to be able to buy. And these are typically the largest buying block for any one company. Where this is important to understand is your largest buying block are typically not going to be your first buyers. So when you look at a typical product life cycle, many people refer to this as an S-curve or an innovation diffusion curve, things of that nature. Basically what you look at is the following. Within any product or service life cycle, you're going to have around 15% of your buyers are your early adopters. These are the people who are going to buy early, and they typically constitute many of your promoters as well as your demoters. On the tail end of this, you have your laggers. These are the people that buy only when they have to have it, like a telephone, many years after the telephone's been released. In the middle, however, is your largest buying block. Nearly 70% of your buyers will reside here. This is where the majority of your buying block is. That's why it's so important to have strong promoters on your early adoption phase so that they can provide the referrals and the assets and the stories necessary to be able to find the success to sell into the buyer base. This is why your leverage points are so much stronger with promoters than it is with any one of your buyer blocks. By understanding your target client profile and how to effectively segment your customer base, you can now create a much more accurate understanding of the true long-term impact of defections on your sales and retention numbers. For example, let's say your company defection rate was 20% last year. When looking at the segmented list of your customers, you discovered that the vast majority, over 75%, were promoters. Now, what is the potential impact of losing so many promoters? And how would that compare to the opposite of losing more than 75% of your demoters? When looking at this example, the short-term financial numbers alone may tell you nothing. The dollar loss could be the same to finance and therefore provides them with no real long-term strategic guidance of the impacts. So by looking at who you lose and retain by segment is far more valuable than the longer-term health of the company and your sales outlook. The benefits of segmentation can also be applied to your customer defection analysis as well. If your customer executive management team conducts post-defection analysis, which they should do, either interviews, surveys, things of that nature, how do they know who they really need to talk to? And in most cases, how do they know how to align the resources to do that? Moreover, with larger companies, how do they look beyond all the numbers to know who they should be talking to and why? Does the feedback provided by a demoter carry the same weight as a promoter? Of course not. The problem is, absent this type of customer segmentation, most executives will look at all of them on an equal plane. And guess who will complain the most and create the most concerns for the executives? Your demoters. The same demoters who will do nothing to help you grow your business and your new sales for your business. This is why a customer defection analysis with interviews and surveys should be primarily focused on your promoters using a customer defection segmentation list. A customer defection segmentation list is nothing more than providing segmentation in these 3 buckets for all of your current clients. In this case, promoters, buyers, and demoters associated to each one of your clients. And in this case, the actions relative to each of those 3 should be different, especially if you have limited resources. So in this case with your promoters, if you want to do interviews and more lengthy interview type discussions with these clients, these are the people that you should be spending that time to do this with your promoters. With your buyers, maybe you just want to do a survey, right? It's your largest block, maybe you don't have time to call these people, maybe a survey would suffice. And in this case with demoters, and typically in many cases, no action is needed because all they're going to do is complain and they're not going to help you grow your business. So when you look at the structure of a customer defection segmentation list, all you have to do is make sure that it has at least 4 columns, and you can put more information beyond this. So for every customer, you have a segmentation code relative to who they are. Obviously their information, contact information, and then their actions. What are the actions you should be taking as a company to be able to get the maximum amount of information out of them for a customer defection analysis to make sure that the health and growth of your company remains stable, and ultimately you're focusing on the right type of customers relative to all the customers that you're going to be interviewing and why. If you want to download an example of the customer defection segmentation list, you can do so on the tools section of the successfulsalesmanager.com.